At this point, it's surprising that there are still people who dare to say Taehyung doesn't love Jungkook. Such a statement is not only false, but demonstrates a complete disconnect with everything the two of them have shown for so many years. The simple fact that doubts still exist is a sign of how far some are willing to go to deny the obvious. Taehyung and Jungkook don't need to make statements to confirm what's already there for anyone to see. The constant presence of out-of-context posts by some Jungkookers only reinforces the efforts made by certain groups to sow confusion. But that attempt doesn't change what we see. Jungkook and Taehyung have a unique way of communicating. It's a language of their own that requires no words, conveyed in their glances, in the smallest gestures, and in how attentive they are to each other. There are no moments where they act differently depending on who's watching. That completely eliminates any idea that theirs is an act. The Jungkookers, in their eagerness to justify another narrative, have ignored important signs that confirm the opposite. While they continue to deny it, Taehyung and Jungkook continue to act naturally, showing closeness and consistency, and that bothers me. It bothers me because they can't prevent this evidence from existing. They can't erase the videos, the gestures, the recorded moments where what they share is obvious. Taehyung has a very clear way of showing how he feels about Jungkook. When Jungkook hugs Tae, he doesn't do it because the camera asks for it, or because there's a script. He does it because he wants to. And the most important thing is that those hugs are repeated at key moments, when Jungkook achieves something important, when there's something to celebrate, or when they simply cross paths on stage. It's a gesture that doesn't change over the years. It's always there. Each hug says the same thing: I'm here with you. Jungkook, for his part, not only accepts those hugs. The way he doesn't move away, but stays closer, confirms it. There's no doubt, he wants those moments too. There's no resistance. There's no awkwardness. What there is an invisible routine between them. When something happens, Tae leans closer, and Jungkook already knows what's coming. It's something Taehyung fans have noticed for years. There's one important detail: Taehyung doesn't hug just anyone with that intensity. He has that habit with Jungkook. And it can't be ignored. Every hug between them shows not only physical closeness, but a need for contact. When someone needs to touch the other all the time, it's because they truly need to be close. Besides, the videos don't lie. Time and again, you can see Tae waiting for the right moment to get closer. Sometimes there's no specific reason. When someone repeats a gesture with the same person, regardless of the place or context, it says more than any words. This is how a connection is built that needs no explanation. When you watch Jungkook in moments where Taehyung is very close to another member, there's one thing that always catches your attention: his reaction. It's not just any ordinary glance. It's an intense, firm, and direct gaze. Jungkook isn't smiling, and his face shows discomfort. That serious expression speaks volumes. Why would he have to act that way if it weren't for a strong reason? Because he can't hide what he feels for Taehyung. Jungkook acts differently when Taehyung gets too close to others. It doesn't matter if there are cameras, if they're in public, or if fans are filming. He doesn't hide it. And that shows something key: he can't control what he feels when he sees Taehyung in contact with another person. It shows in his eyes, in the gesture of his mouth, in the change in his body posture. He pays complete attention to what Taehyung is doing, as if his world has stopped just to watch him. The jealous look appears every time, like a reflex he can't avoid. And on the other side, something similar happens. When Jungkook is interacting with someone else, Taehyung also acts. He observes, follows the movements, and his eyes show an annoyance that isn't slight. That kind of jealousy isn't born out of friendship, it doesn't just appear. There's something much deeper between them that provokes those reactions. This isn't just an isolated moment. It's a repeated behavior that appears every time something triggers that spark of jealousy. They are subtle, but firm expressions. And when analyzed carefully, it all makes sense. Taehyung and Jungkook are involved in a way that goes far beyond any normal relationship. Every gesture says it. No declaration is needed when the body language speaks so clearly. Over the years, there have been many attempts to minimize the bond between Jungkook and Taehyung. However, each attempt has ultimately failed because reality is impossible to hide. What we see between them needs no forced explanation. There is a solid connection that has defied even external pressure. It doesn't matter how many times the phrase "they're just friends" is repeated, because what they show doesn't fit that definition. Their body language, the way they look at each other, the private moments that are unintentionally captured, all of this indicates a deep relationship that can't be compared to the one they have with other people. One of the most striking elements in this script is how Taehyung and Jungkook maintain their bond even when cameras or third parties are watching. Because when a relationship is true, it doesn't change based on context. If someone changes their behavior depending on who's present, they're acting. But in their case, that's not the case. Their way of relating remains steadfast regardless of the environment. And that says much more than any public statement. In fact, the more you try to ignore what they're showing, the stronger the evidence becomes. The most important thing about all of this is that it's not words that keep this truth alive. No matter how many times certain people try to push another narrative, Jungkook and Taehyung continue to show the same thing with every appearance. The way they care for each other, how one reacts when the other speaks, how they seem to share internal codes that no one else understands, all of this points to a genuine relationship. They don't need to confirm anything with speeches. They've already confirmed it 1,000 times with gestures that are impossible to fake for so long. When you calmly observe how Taehyung and Jungkook act on stage, in interviews, or behind the scenes, one thing becomes very clear: they don't need words to understand each other. Their bodies speak for themselves. Touching each other without prompting, reaching for each other without looking first, walking in sync without practicing, all of this says they know each other from a different place. A place only the two of them share. Body language between two people doesn't lie. And in the case of Taehyung and Jungkook, you always see that one is waiting for the other's reaction. When Jungkook laughs, Taehyung laughs too, as if their moods are connected. When one gets closer, the other doesn't move away. They stay close. They accommodate each other. They understand each other. Sometimes they don't even speak, but the message is clear: I'm with you. I see you. I feel you. Small gestures like a hand that rests for no reason, a glance that lasts longer than expected, a movement that coincides with the others, they form a routine between them. It's not something forced or acted. It happens because they're used to being together. There's trust. And when trust becomes a part of the body, it can't be faked anymore. In many videos, Taehyung and Jungkook users have noticed how, even in large groups, Taehyung and Jungkook always end up close. Sometimes they don't start together, but end up next to each other. Their bodies guide them. It's as if they're unconsciously seeking each other out. Or maybe they do realize it, but they don't need to think about it anymore. They just do it. When Taehyung touches Jungkook for no apparent reason, he's not being impulsive. And when Jungkook responds with a smile, or a small movement that draws him closer, he's also saying something. The interesting thing is that all of this happens while they're surrounded by cameras, people, and sets. But they don't hold back. They repeat it. Dancing without rehearsing is also a strong sign. There are videos where they do the same steps at the same time, without having planned it. That only happens when two people are deeply connected, when they understand each other beyond the visible. When two people look at each other in such a specific way as Taehyung and Jungkook do, it's not by coincidence. The expressions, the postures, the physical reactions, they're all part of a larger message that needs no words. Every time Taehyung turns his head to look at Jungkook while he's interacting with someone else, he does so with an intensity that shows. It's a direct gaze, without distraction. His eyes lower slightly, his expression tenses, and he doesn't smile. That reaction comes every time, like an automatic response that comes from within. It's not something that can be easily faked. On the other hand, Jungkook is no slouch either. When Taehyung is in contact with another member, his gaze becomes fixed. He stares. It's not a game or just paying attention to the surroundings. He follows every movement. If Taehyung smiles with someone else, Jungkook changes his expression. He becomes serious. He lowers his gaze or frowns. There are no words, but there are clear gestures that show his discomfort. That's what many people don't want to accept. What they feel shows even when they're not touching or speaking. The human body has many ways of expressing what the heart holds. And Taehyung and Jungkook use all of those ways without saying it directly. Every step, every glance they exchange, every reaction to others is a part of that story that many already see, but that some still try to deny. There's a connection between them that doesn't disappear. It's present all the time. It's reflected in the way they search each other with their eyes, in the way they pause to observe each other even in the middle of events, rehearsals, or interviews. These kinds of details don't go unnoticed by those who follow their videos closely. In each recording, every small gesture counts. When Jungkook approaches Taehyung, the way he looks at him is different from the way he looks at others. There's a softness, a deeper kind of attention. And when Taehyung looks at him, there's something in his expression that blends care, possession, and concentration. It's not an empty stare. It's not something meaningless. It is a direct emotional reaction that is constantly repeated.